I had always believed that the cracks in our marriage were just the little things. You know, the small, mundane details, the way she would avoid looking me in the eye when I spoke, how she'd laugh a little too loudly when the TV was on, how she'd spend hours scrolling on her phone at night, her face lighting up with something I couldn't reach. I tried to ignore it, to dismiss the creeping suspicion that gnawed at me like a shadow, always just out of sight. But then there was the phone. It wasn't a single moment that set me off, it was the gradual buildup of those little things. Her phone had always been her private space, and I respected that. Until one night, when I walked into the room to find her unlocking it, her fingers hovering just a beat too long over the screen. My pulse quickened. I saw her lock it back quickly, but not before I noticed something, the unfamiliar name flashing across her screen. It lingered in the corner of my mind, haunting me. I knew then, something wasn't right. I told myself I was overreacting. It was just a friend, some acquaintance. But doubt burned like acid in my gut. I started watching more closely, waiting for her to slip up again. A week went by, and I was on edge, tuning into the conversations she had, the way she handled her phone, the faintest tremor in her hands. The usual deflection. The sudden, overly casual mention of work or friends. But I knew, deep down, I knew. It was a Saturday night when I saw it, when everything changed. I had come home early from a business trip, hoping to surprise her. I found her in the living room, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The moment she heard the door, she snapped it shut so fast it felt like a physical slap. I froze, standing there in the hallway, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. But she didn't know. She didn't know I was watching her. I waited. I waited for the right moment. Later that evening, I found her phone lying on the kitchen counter, unguarded. She was in the shower. For the first time, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed it. My hands shook. I knew it was wrong, but that gut feeling, the deep, gnawing certainty, told me this was the only way. I unlocked it with a few quick taps, the same pattern she always used, the same 4 numbers. She never bothered to change it. The messages that appeared on the screen were enough to shatter everything. Her lover's name appeared at the top. There were messages between them, so many, so intimate, so personal. I read every word, every line. I shouldn't have. But I did. They were planning to meet up again. A hotel. The excitement, the desire in her words, it struck like a physical blow. It was as if I were watching her fall into someone else's arms, someone who wasn't me. Someone who had become more important than the man who'd spent years beside her, who had trusted her with everything he had. And then came the video. It was her, smiling, laughing, looking at the camera as if she hadn't a care in the world. She was at the hotel, the same hotel she'd mentioned in the texts. The same one she had said was for business meetings. I felt sick. My heart was in my throat, choking me. I should have thrown the phone away. I should have walked out, done something, anything. But no, I sat there, transfixed by the betrayal unfolding before me. I knew what I had to do. At the next family gathering, I made sure she didn't suspect anything. I acted like everything was normal, small talk, laughs, casual greetings. The whole time, my mind was racing. I had the video saved on my phone, and I was going to make sure they all saw it. Everyone. She was sitting across the room, laughing too loudly at something her sister had said, pretending like everything was fine. Pretending like there was no secret she had buried so deep. I could barely hear her voice over the thudding of my heart in my ears, but it didn't matter. I was already holding the phone in my hand, and the plan was set in motion. I waited. I waited for the moment when everyone would be gathered together in the living room. The perfect opportunity, the perfect timing. And then it came. I stood up, my hands slick with sweat, and said, "Hey, everyone, I found something I think you all need to see." Her face froze. It was as if time itself stopped for just a second. I could see her eyes widen, her body tense. She knew. But it was too late. I pressed play. The video flashed on the screen, the brightness of it cutting through the warm, dim light of the room. The image of her laughing in a hotel room, her hands resting on the chest of another man, her lips curving into a smile I'd never seen before, burned through the air like a slow-motion explosion. The room went silent. My family, her family, all of them stood frozen, staring at the screen. The weight of the moment hung in the air like an unbearable force. Her eyes darted around the room, trying to find an escape, a way to undo what had been revealed. But there was no escape now. Why? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why didn't you just leave me? Why this? Why him? She didn't answer at first. She couldn't. Her face was pale, her lips trembling. The silence stretched on, unbearable, suffocating. Finally, she stood up, her voice breaking. It was a mistake, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. No, I interrupted, the words coming out with a force that startled even me. This isn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up the dry cleaning. A mistake is burning dinner. This is a choice. This is you choosing him over me. Over us. She looked around the room, her face flushed with humiliation. My mother's gaze was steady, but her eyes were full of pity. My brother didn't even look at her, his face hard and unreadable. The silence felt endless. And then, it was my turn to speak. I trusted you, I said, my voice low, cutting through the quiet. I trusted you more than anyone, and I stopped myself. I couldn't finish. My throat was too tight, the pain too raw. The tension in the room was unbearable. She stepped toward me, her voice trembling. Please, I never meant for this to happen. I thought I could fix it. I thought. But it was too late for apologies. I'm done, I said, standing up. My legs felt like they might buckle, but I stood tall. We're done. And then I walked out. I walked out of that house, away from her, away from all of it. The cold air hit me like a slap as I stepped into the night. For the first time in what felt like years, I could breathe. It hurt. God, it hurt more than I could put into words. But it was over. I wasn't the same man who had walked into that gathering. I had reclaimed something I didn't even know I had lost. My dignity. My worth. My life. And when I closed the door behind me, I knew it would never be the same.